is FPL Pickle and welcome back to another video. So today we have my Game Week 10 Pickles preview video, and this is a weekly series where I go over the Game Week highlights, go over your team dilemmas, discuss some players I punt on or avoid, and also go over my Pickles predictions for the Game Week. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give the video a like, aiming for around 200 likes this video, and if you'd also like to subscribe, then I'd really appreciate that. But before we dive into the Game Week highlights, I'd just like to quickly go over how my team did in Game Week 9. And overall, it didn't go too badly, so I ended up on 52 points in Game Week 9, and that gave me a nice green arrow, albeit a small one, but a green arrow nevertheless, from 1.8 million to 1.6 million. And as you can see, the back line really did a lot of the work this game week. If you saw my previous team selection, you may have noticed that the lineup changed a little bit. I think in my video I had Saar starting ahead of Rodon. But to be honest, I got more convinced nearer the end that perhaps going for a back four might be the better play. I wasn't that keen on starting a Leeds defender. I know that Leeds defence have been very good, but they did concede. But I think just the thought that they were against West Ham and how poor they've been against set pieces, I thought, you know what, maybe it's worth just backing the Arsenal defence and benching Saar. And because of the news around Gabriel, I was thinking, well, if Gabriel doesn't play, then I'm getting Saar off the bench against a weakened Arsenal defence anyway. So I was like, you know what, I don't mind this plan. And it turned out to work out pretty well. I mean, Rodon getting a goal, I would not have actually predicted that happening. So that was very nice. A 13-pointer. Just very impressed with that. And even Gabriel himself, he did start. He could have hauled, by the way, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But yeah, absolutely insane. Also keeping the clean sheet once again. Absolutely superior. I'm so happy that I have double Arsenal defence now. I just feel a lot more comfortable each weekend with it. So yeah, very pleased with that. Otherwise though, the team was quite disappointing. As you can see, the attack was quite bare really. Nothing really happened. Haaland even blanking, had a big chance, but yeah, Voltemada missing a huge chance as well. But the likes of JP being a lot more disappointing. But in terms of the bench itself, 2s across the board. I'm pretty happy I didn't end up bench boosting, because I was thinking about a bench boost in Game Week 9. But in terms of how I bench my players, I think it went okay. Xhaka could have got a goal, by the way, but yeah. Overall, I'm happy, and I'm hoping that next week we can get another green and hopefully, potentially, get closer to being in the top million, but maybe I shouldn't get too excited about that, but we'll see. Let's now move on to how my Pickles predictions did in Game Week 9. I realised I was slightly in the way, so I've kind of like moved myself out the way. But anyway, in terms of my predictions in Game Week 9, unfortunately they're a little bit stinky. It wasn't even a case this week where one was close to being right. It just didn't really, none of them really worked out. The first one, predicting that DCL would miss 2 big chances. I don't think he really had that many chances in this game anyway. I'm a bit of a DCL hater, I'm sorry. But yeah, that didn't work out, but he didn't get a return either. So unfortunately, if you're a DCL owner, yeah, it's just not the one. I'd probably sell him, to be honest. Second one, Saar will get a goal against Arsenal. We saw how amazing Arsenal defence were once again. Palace weren't really even close to a goal, so that didn't happen either. And then the third one, there'll be a red card in the Wolves versus Burnley game. I think there might have been 1 yellow perhaps in that game, but I don't even think there were that many yellows. So this time, it was just wrong. And it is what it is. Tune in later on in the video where I come up with some more predictions. But still, in terms of my tally, I'm halfway there, 5 out of 10. And if I get more than 10 across the season, I'll donate £100 to a charity of your choice. So if you have any in mind, please comment them down below. But yeah, we're still very much getting there. Halfway there already. We've got many game weeks to go. So it's all good. But anyway, let's now move on to the highlights for Game Week 9. So starting off with the Leeds versus West Ham game, for us Rodon owners, it was an absolute dream. We got 13 points from Rodon, and I know a lot of people had high expectations, and admittedly I was not one of those people that had insanely high expectations. But to get a 13 points, oh wow, I feel so lucky that I started him. A set-piece goal from Rodon, absolutely fantastic. Couldn't have asked for more. I think that was the second goal. The Aronson goal was the first goal, and it was taken very well. Longstaff assist as well. So I think for him being 4.9, very cheap, he continues to be quite a good option on set pieces. So if you need a budget midfielder, I do quite like him. DCL though, once again, there was a lot going on. I think Leeds ended up creating 1.49 XG against West Ham, but Calvert-Lewin didn't really have that much involvement. So like I said, if you have him, I'd probably sell him at this point. West Ham though, although Leeds were dominating and, West Ham just looked not great. Once again, Nuno seems to continue to be experimenting, and so far it's not really working out. It's quite concerning for West Ham whether they stay up or not. I think they will, but yeah, some improvements need to be made first before they even have a chance. They did end up getting a goal towards the end, Fernandes getting a goal, Bowen got the assist as well. So I think if you've got Bowen, I'd probably keep for a little bit longer, but I understand if you really want to move to the likes of Mateta. And then Paqueta, he had a goal that was ruled offside because it was quite offside, but yeah, doesn't look good really in the role that he's been in, just doesn't look very effective, and so he'd be one that I'd be contemplating selling as well despite the good fixtures coming up. Moving on to Chelsea versus Sunderland, and this was another game where the promoted side got a great result. Sunderland winning the game. Chelsea just didn't look very at it in this game. Guiu started, and a lot of people quite hyped about the idea of that happening, thinking, Guiu will start, amazing budget forward, this will crack the game, perhaps even better than Krupi Jr. This will put JP in the 10, where he's, much more effective, but then, this might be negative for Enzo because he's getting pushed back deeper. But it just didn't work out well, and Enzo still ended up being one of the more attacking players on the pitch. He was probably the most threatening up there out of all the three I just mentioned. Guiu was just kind of running around, didn't really do much. JP again looked not a single shot once again. We thought that him being in the 10 would make the absolute difference. But no, still continues to not do anything, and it kind of seems like he's not really putting enough effort in either. And we know he's not been one to take loads and loads of shots, but just how long can we take this for? And I think a lot of people now, despite how good the fixtures are coming up, I think they are feeling fed up with him. And I am in that boat at the moment. I am quite fed up with him, and I've lost value on him. So yeah, not great. Garnacho getting a goal though, Neto assist once again. But yeah, Sunderland were very, very good, controlled the game quite well. Isidore got a goal. Xhaka had a very good chance to score as well. And when I saw that on the highlights, it was a little bit scary to see. But I'm very happy to have him. I think he's one of the best cheap midfielder options that we have at the moment. I'm kind of confident that he will continue to accumulate 4-pointers at the very least as we go on, even though he didn't get DEFCON this time. And then finally, the last-minute winner from Talby. Robbie did really, really well to keep possession, kind of wait until someone was in the space, and Talby was there and he finished it well. So yeah, absolutely amazing result for Sunderland. Chelsea do need to do better, and like I mentioned, I'm pretty happy keeping Enzo, but the likes of JP, I'm getting a little bit fed up with them. Moving on to Newcastle versus Fulham. So Newcastle did win in the end 2-1. Murphy ended up getting a really good goal towards the start, and Bruno G got a goal towards the end. He missed a huge chance as well. Voltemada, as an owner, it was quite heart-wrenching. He did unfortunately miss a huge chance 4 minutes into the game from he was not many yards out at all, hit the post, so that was a shame, but not much really happened with him other than that. Gordon was quite good in the game, but again didn't really get anything in terms of FPL points, which is a shame for owners, to be fair. I do feel quite bad about how the swing's going at the moment, but I am quite happy that I have picked Voltemada in my team. In terms of Fulham, Bassi was unfortunately very poor in this game, made the errors that resulted in both of the goals, was just quite chaotic, and yeah, just didn't perform very well. You can see that Fulham are missing the likes of Anderson in their team at the moment, and we don't really have any information or updates as to how Anderson is doing or when he's going to be back. So hopefully later on in the week we might have some more information, but for now we're still not sure whether he's going to be back or not. In terms of attack though, they did accumulate 1.53 XG, and they did get a goal in the end. It was a Lukic goal, and Jimenez had one massive chance as well, had a lot of shots in this game. It'd be nice if he was an option. He's just not very reliable for me, so he's not someone that I'd really go for. But yeah, it's a shame that Newcastle did again concede, and with the likes of Livramento being out and Dan Burn not playing where he usually would, you can see that they're not quite as good as they were. But I'm still happy to have Pope in my team, and he got a 3 points, so it could have been worse. I didn't watch this game, but I did see the highlights. Thankfully for Ross, Man United did insane this game week. 4-2 to Man United. They just played incredibly well. You can see that their attack is looking a lot more fluid now, with the likes of Sesko and Burmo, Cunha, Bruno. Like, they've got some class players in that team, there's no doubt about that. And they're working together very, very well at the moment. In Burmo Brace, it's nice to see. And he definitely is becoming very interesting to a lot of people now. Very, very creative. I guess the one thing for his price that is a bit of a shame is that he's not really on penalties. I think it is going to be Bruno. It might be that Bruno gives him the odd one, but realistically, I think Bruno's going to be taking the penalties. But I know a lot of people are even considering switching from Bruno to Mbeumo because of how good he's been. I'm not sure whether I'd do that unless you need the money for elsewhere, but I don't mind it. And Mbeumo's someone that I will be looking at to try and fit in the future. Cunha getting a goal as well and had a very nice shot towards the start of the game. Looks very, very good. Looks more himself now. I think he's back fit and it's nice to see. Casemiro doing very, very well in this game as well. Bruno himself could have had a goal in this game. I don't think... Did he get DEFCON? I think he did, you know. But I think Bruno continues to be a really nice option and I don't fully regret selling him, but I do wish I had a little bit of Man United attack in my team. But in terms of who I go for, I'm not sure because they are quite expensive. But yeah, played insanely well in this game. In terms of Brighton, Welbeck scored once again. It was a lovely free kick goal. If you haven't watched it, I'll go and have a look. It was a very, very good goal. And another goal towards the end. How do you say his name? Kostulas, I'm going to say it is. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Let me know and correct me in the comments. But yeah, he had a nice goal towards the end as well. And Van Hecke, obviously in terms of FPL points, he didn't do that well, but he accumulated DEFCON once again, so I don't hate him as an option moving forward. Another fairly surprising result, or maybe we could argue it's not because of how Liverpool have been playing recently. 3-2 to Brentford. Insane result for Brentford. What a result. Yeah, I just think Liverpool, they're just not at it at the moment. Attacking wise, to be fair, they're looking better. A lot of XG accumulated, and Salah even had a goal finally. Missed a huge chance as well. Salah could have hauled in this game. Goal from Kirkes as well. Cheeky flick from Ekitike. And yeah, attacking wise, they look okay. But defensively, they look really messy and quite lousy as well. Konate for the second goal, he just looked like he gave up. Van Dijk conceding the penalty that Thiago scored as well. Just defensively, they're looking poor. Kirkes is chaotic. Bradley and Frimpong just aren't at it. It's just, yeah, defensively they have really taken a dive and it's something that they really need to improve on. You can see why they're attacking so much. They have to because they're conceding so many chances. But yeah, Dango getting a lovely goal. Sharda getting a goal as well from defensive mistakes. Yeah, just fair play to Brentford. Very, very good. And Coyote's long throw for the first goal. Pretty insane. Also, Damsgaard is such a baller. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago. He's just so good to watch. His pass for I think it was the second goal was unreal. He's just such a good footballer. I feel like he's quite underrated, but yeah. Also, in terms of Liverpool, Gakpo got a sub in the 60th minute. And last week, we were obviously feeling a lot more tempted with Gakpo because of how well he's doing. But the thing is, because of Liverpool attack and how many options they have and how much they can move around, I just don't know whether I'll ever feel safe having Gakpo, and this game week kind of showed why. So yeah, it's difficult in terms of attackers other than Salah, and maybe Ekitike if he's out for a long time. I don't know who I'd really want to go for and feel confident about it. So yeah, that's that game. Let's move on to the other games. So moving on to the Arsenal versus Crystal Palace game, and who other to score in this game than Eberechi Eze. Of course it was Eze that scored against Crystal Palace from, again, another set piece from Arsenal. Rice was given the assist. You could have argued that it should have been a Gabriel assist, and Gabriel could have absolutely hauled in this game. Missed a huge chance, was one off DEFCON, nearly got that assist. It was on a 9-pointer, but you could have had so many more points. So Gabriel just... I'm going to say he's essential in FPL. I'm going to say he's essential. But yeah, once again, Arsenal defence, like I mentioned, absolutely elite. Again, only conceding 0.47 XG. Just, again, just like you have to have Arsenal defenders and probably double. And we can maybe argue even triple at this point, especially when you look at the scoreline of this game. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, attacking wise, weren't amazing. I mean, Saka got subbed off really early, and as an owner, I was quite concerned, but Arteta mentioned that Saka's been ill midweek, so I'm hoping that that was why he came off and not because he's got an injury of any kind, but we'll see. Gyökeres again, another 2-pointer. Had a couple of chances, but not really, just for his price. I was never crazy convinced anyway, but yeah, unfortunately for owners, he's been pretty bad. And I know that JP's been arguably worse, but he is cheaper, so oof, yeah. In terms of Palace itself, conceded less than 1 XG to be fair, and I guess I mentioned that the attack from Arsenal wasn't great. But yeah, they didn't really get many chances because of how good Arsenal defence are. But yeah, Lacroix and Gay got DEFCON, but unfortunately for Richard's owners, he got robbed. He ended up getting DEFCON, but it was recalculated, but they'd already locked it in by then. So it meant that Richards, even though he should have got DEFCON points, he didn't. And thankfully, I benched him this game week. But if I'd been on bench boost or had started him, for example, I would have been so fuming. So FPL needs to do a bit better with stuff like that, especially because they've added this addition to the game. They need to make sure they're getting it right. So if you're a Richards owner, I am very sorry. That was quite unfortunate. Now, as a Villa fan, I'm very, very pleased. Another win at home against Man City. We did it again. 1-0 this time. I'm so impressed. We kept a clean sheet against Man City as well. Yeah, amazing. Cash with an absolutely amazing goal off his left foot. Even defensively, he was fantastic in this game. He just had a great game, and it's not his first haul of the season as well by any means. So you know what, he could be an option moving forward. I know that because of what Villa have been like, even I'm feeling quite cautious about them, and I had triple Villa for way too long. But of course, this was the game week where Konza not only gets a clean sheet, but this man gets DEFCON. And when does this man, has he ever got DEFCON in his life? I don't know, but today, well not today, but in that game he got DEFCON. Nice to see though, I'm just happy that Villa kept a clean sheet. Haaland though, he did miss a big chance, and he even had a goal that was offside. I think Marmoush Sarr was offside, so yeah, as a Haaland captain, and that was a little bit but if it meant my team got the 3 points, I'm going to take it. Reinders, unfortunately, because of Rodri being out again, he was in a very deep 6th role, and he's not really great there. He's not used to it. He couldn't win any balls whatsoever. Didn't really know what to do. He just looked a bit lost, I think. So yeah, not great. Diaz, the only defender getting DEFCON, I think. So yeah, amazing. I mean, Buendia getting the assist, but unfortunately went off injured, and that's gutting because we may have soon possibly been talking about Buendia as an option, but we'll have to see. He was in crutches, so it doesn't look great, and that's going to be a massive loss for us, I'm not going to lie. McGinn had a huge chance as well, and also Power, just defensively. It wasn't amazing, but when they needed to, they did really well. There was a clearance, there was a off the line that Power did, and it was insane. Watch it if you haven't. I'm just so impressed, and we've been clawing these points recently. I hope we can keep it up. It's a great result for us. Anyway, guys, enough of me waffling on about Villa. Let's move on to Bournemouth versus Forest. So it was 2-0 to Bournemouth. They did very well in this game. Tavernier scored a goal from a corner. It was pretty incredible, actually. Krupi Jr. ended up getting a goal as well, and for those who went for him, fair play. He could be a nice option. However, he did come off in the 69th minute. Even when Evan Nilsson isn't there, he's coming off early, and I just feel like as soon as Evan Nilsson's back, his minutes are going to plummet. So for now, he's a very, very nice 4.5 million option. Is that even how much he is now? I'm not sure, so if I'm wrong. But I'd still be quite cautious about it, especially now. But he does look very good when he is on the pitch. In terms of DEFCON, Trufer got DEFCON and got quite a few points in this game. Senesi unfortunately got booked, and that probably meant that he didn't really accumulate DEFCON after that. But yeah, 2nd yellow in a row, which is not great. One of my moves that I'll talk about in my transfer plans or my team selection videos, potentially doing Senesi to Trufer to get Mateta, but I'm not sure about that just yet. In terms of Forest themselves, they only conceded 0.58 XG, so in terms of Dyche ball coming into effect, I feel like we've seen a bit of it already. Sells was quite poor in this game though, and I just feel like across this season, unfortunately, he's just not been at it. And offensively, they had a few chances, but they're still not quite there, and would be now obviously doesn't help either. So moving on to Wolves versus Burnley. Burnley clinched the winner in the end. I felt quite bad for Wolves, but is what it is, I suppose. JSL did end up getting a penalty, and he did score it, so I feel fairly confident that JSL's on pens, and it's good to see him get a goal, but in terms of open play, I need to see a bit more from him, I think. Manetzi getting a goal as well, and Krejci getting an assist, and Santi getting an assist as well. As you can see, Burnley, their defence is quite poor. They conceded 2.28 XG, and I think even if you take the penalty away, it was still like 1.5 XGC. So they're conceding a lot of chances. So in terms of Arsenal next week, I'm feeling happy that I do have an Arsenal attacker in that game. Fleming getting a brace though was a very, very good game for him. And Dubravka having an amazing save towards the end. It could have nearly been a draw in that game in the end. But yeah, Dubravka with a brilliant save at the end and Foster getting a goal too. Finally, the Everton versus Tottenham game. Spurs getting a 3-0 win. Whew. Not ideal for people who own like Everton defenders and even attackers. They accumulated a lot of chances. There were 3 big chances that were missed. Beto missed a huge chance. I feel, to be fair, it was an amazing save from Vicario, but they just can't score. Grealish missed a huge chance as well. And it's a shame for players like NDI, because NDI is such a baller, but it's just the people that he's getting those balls to, they're either not getting to them or they're just not finishing the chances well. So yeah, insane. And of course, the main highlight of this game being Van de Ven. A 23-pointer from this man. He's not even that great in the air, but he got 2 goals from set pieces, and this is a team that hadn't conceded from set pieces yet this season. Scored 2 headers, got a clean sheet, and even got DEFCON. This man he never gets DEFCON, but he did. So if anyone bench boosted with him or even started him, fair play. I feel like the likes of Van de Ven and Rodon were the players you needed to get a green arrow this week, and I was lucky that I had the one of them. But if you had both, whew, fair play. I saw some monstrous benches out there. Some who had played the chip, some who unfortunately hadn't. I can't even imagine that pain. Papa Sarr getting a goal as well and a few assists across the board. So yeah, I feel like I've waffled on for a bit too long once again, but those are the highlights for the game week. I hope you found them useful, but for now, let's talk about some of your team dilemmas for game week 10. So moving on to my Pickles pointers section, this is the section where I go through some of the main dilemmas that came up in game week 10. So I think one of the main talking points this week is João Pedro, Gyökeres not performing at all, and we're now getting fed up. And now we're wondering who are the best choices to go for. Now, of course, if you can afford it, I would 100% recommend getting Mateta in your team. I unfortunately can't get to Mateta in a simple way. I didn't really have the money to just jump from JP to Mateta even before the price change. So unfortunately, I can't get him in an easy way. Will I have him or not? I'm not sure. But I think with the fixtures coming up and how strong Crystal Palace attack have been, Mateta is missing a lot of chances, but he's getting so many of them that he's bound to get goals. And we've seen that. So number 1 for me is Mateta. Number 2, I'm going to say Voltemada. I'm very happy to have him in my team. Got West Ham away next. Very, very good game. I think that he could have got another goal in game week 9. I think he will get another goal in game week 10. So I like him. I just feel, like I said before, even in games where he's not doing amazingly well, I just think he can return. So I like him and he's another option I'd go for. In terms of the cheaper options, we've got Thiago at 6.2 and we've got Welbeck at 6.4. I think these are both very, very good options. In terms of all-round, Thiago's probably the better bet in terms of definitely on penalties, good minutes, good data. But the fixtures just aren't quite as nice for me. They get nice later on, but Welbeck, and I know a lot of people are concerned because of minutes and so forth, but his minutes have looked better recently. They've got Leeds at home next, and I know that Leeds have got good defensive data, but this is an away game for Leeds, and I could see Welbeck doing well in this game, and he's just such a good footballer. I know he's aging, but I like him, so those two, it's close. If you're more data-driven, then Thiago's probably the better bet, but in terms of a fun punt, I'm feeling Welbeck at the moment, so Welbeck is also another option. Other than that, I probably wouldn't go there. I'd probably still avoid JSL for now. I would not touch Calvert-Lewin. Probably wouldn't go for Jimenez either. So out of all the options that we have, the 4 that I've mentioned are probably the ones that I would go for. Depending on how much money you have, if you can afford Mateta, I'll probably do it. In terms of whether I'd sell both of these players, I'm not so sure. I honestly think now, because of the fixture that Arsenal have next week, I think that JP is probably the priority sell. So if you have the 2 and only want to sell the 1, I'd probably sell JP ahead of Gyökeres because it's Burnley away at the end of the day and Gyökeres is getting chances. I think JP's got to go first. So if you're wondering, then yeah. But if you want to sell both and you got both and you want to sell them both now, Don't hate him. Unfortunately, we're mentioning him again. Reinders looked so promising in Game Week 1, but since then he's not really been delivering. He's gone back down in price. I think he went up to like 5.8 or 5.9. Now he's back at 5.6. So a lot of people are fed up, understandably. He's playing in a deeper role, he's struggling in it. He's just not really getting attacking returns. So the question is, who do we sell him for? And again, it depends on how much money you have in the bank. So I've given you some options across various price points to help you with that. In terms of cheaper options, like I mentioned, I think Xhaka is the best cheap option that we've got. At 5.1 mil now, I think he'll fairly easily get stable 4-pointers across the games. And I know that they've got difficult games coming up, but he's a player that you feel fairly comfortable benching as well. It's not a crazy headache every single week, but even for games like Arsenal, I do kind of fancy him in that game. And so in my bench boost that I may potentially activate in Game Week 11, he might be there. Longstaff as well at 4.9 million. On set pieces as well, like Xhaka. I just think that in terms of value, he might even potentially be better. I think I just really rate Sunderland at the moment, even though their attack isn't all that amazing. I think I slightly prefer Xhaka, but if you would rather go for someone a little bit cheaper so that you can upgrade elsewhere, I like Longstaff as an option as well. He seems fairly nailed in that team, so I like him as an option. And this one's a little bit more rogue, Palhinha from Spurs. I know they've not got great fixtures coming up, but he accumulates DEFCON, he gets the odd assist. I like him as an option. He just seems to be getting the points and no one talks about him. But if you're fancying someone a little bit different, don't hate it. But yeah, fixtures aren't great, so it wouldn't be a priority move for me. In terms of options from 5.6 to 6.5, I think Crystal Palace attack is one that you want to capitalise on. I know that Sar's not been great, but I think in terms of open play goal threat, it's there. And I could see him getting a few goals over the next few game weeks. NDI I like as well. He continues to look promising. It's just a shame that it's not really translating into points in FPL. And he hasn't really got much help either. He creates so much, but it just doesn't, turn out to be anything in the end. So that's a shame as well. But it is an option nonetheless if you feel like it. And Sunderland away next. It's not a bad fixture at all. And then the final one, Minter. I'm less keen right now, but he does seem nailed, and they got Leeds at home next. And Brighton attack, they look like they're on the up. They're still not great, but it looks like it's on the up. So again, don't mind him as an option. And then the more expensive options we've got Enzo. I still think he looked very attacking in Game Week 9. I still think that he's going to be a very nice option moving forward. They've got some really nice fixtures coming up, Chelsea, and I could see Enzo doing well in these games. And we think he's on pens. It's still not certain. It could be JP, and just when we sell JP, we're going to find out, aren't we? But I think it's going to be Enzo on pens, and he just looks really, really good. So happy with him. Rice is a nice option as well. I know that we're kind of taking up our spots with Arsenal defenders, really, and we'll talk more about that in a sec, actually. But if you want a differential attacker, I don't hate it. They always seem to be scoring set pieces, and it usually is Rice on the back of them, so don't hate it at all. And finally, Grealish. We have to remember Grealish exists. He missed a huge chance in Game Week 9. He obviously didn't play in Game Week 8, but he is there, and I think that he will continue to provide very good assist threat for the team. So, like I mentioned, it is a shame with Everton attacking. It's not really coming together right now that well, but they show promise. So those are the options that I consider replacing Reinders for. Let me know what you think, and if you're considering any of those players, if you are, let me know, or if you're considering someone completely different, then let me know. I'd be interested to hear it. Now, we've seen with Arsenal defence how incredible they've been. They barely concede like half an XG. Like, what on earth? So at first, I thought this was a bit brave. Like, the thought of triple defence to me of any team is a little bit like, oh, like, it doesn't feel great, especially with the fixtures that Arsenal have coming up. But because we've seen how good they have been, I don't even hate it, honestly. Because with Arsenal attack as well, I feel like there's so many players that could get the attack in return. It's not, like with Man City, Haaland is getting those goals. The highest of a goal scorer for Man City is a step of his 2 own goals, by the way. So, and it's not the same for Arsenal. It could be Trossard, it could be Martinelli, it could be Eze, it could be Saka. Like, we don't know. So in terms of getting like solid points, I really don't hate the triple Arsenal defence strategy. I think it is viable at this point, seeing how good they've been. So if you want to go there, Don't hate it, although I still don't feel that Raya is crazy value for money, but I don't hate it at all. I'll be honest with you, I don't hate it. And then finally, captaincy. Last week I was a lot more straightforward. I was like, Haaland, don't overthink it. But I do feel like there are more options this game week. Of course, Haaland with Bournemouth at home, it's an option. It's Haaland. He's always going to be there for the taking. Saka against Burnley away. Obviously, we need to find out that he's definitely okay first, but I do like it, I do. If you have Salah, I'd definitely consider it as well. I would. It's Salah. I know that his EO is so low now, but if you do have him, I don't mind it at all. And then finally, a player that I've been thinking about, and is it knee-jerky? I don't know. I just think he's so insane. I think Gabriel is a decent captaincy shout this week, and it's on my mind. It's on my mind, I'm not going to lie to you. I just think they're very likely going to clean in this game. This will be the one where they don't have, but they're very likely going to clean. Their threat from set pieces is insane, and Gabriel is almost always on the end of them. He's just been incredible, and it's so brave. Alex Folo loves a captaincy punt on a defender. I'm normally quite safe with captaincy, but I'm not going to lie, Gabriel is up there for me. So if you want to punt on someone different this game week, Gabriel, I dig it. Other than that though, I'll keep it fairly simple. Haaland, Saka, Salah. I wouldn't go elsewhere really. Maybe Voltemada, but even that's a little bit risky for me, but I don't hate it. So yeah, those are my Pickles pointers. Hopefully you found that helpful, and now let's move on to my Pickles punts. I'm starting to realise that I need to move my graphics a little bit because I am kind of in the way, especially now I've added the prices down there. But these are my punts for Game Week 10. So Dan Burn, I know that in the position that he's in at the moment, he's not quite so good, and this might seem a little bit random, but if you're fancying a defender that's a little bit more expensive against a West Ham who are terrible against set pieces, big Dan Burn is there, isn't he? And I don't hate it. And you know what, their fixtures aren't bad for the long run. If you're feeling like you'd like a Newcastle defender, then I mentioned it before and I mentioned him again. I just think for this fixture it could be quite nice. If you need a replacement, let's say Anderson, you want to replace him and you've got quite a bit of money in the bank, I don't hate it. I'll quickly mention Van Hecker as well. He's a little bit cheaper. I know that his performances haven't been great, but for 4.4 million, he's getting DEFCON that got Leeds at home next. I don't know, I don't think he's as bad of an option as people are making out. I quite like him for a punt, especially if you're wanting to bench boost in Game Week 10 possibly and you now don't have Anderson. He could be a nice little option slot in there. So again, I don't hate it. And I've talked about Danny Welbeck already at 6.4 million. His minutes are on the up. He just looks very good attacking wise. Got Leeds at home next, and I think that Brighton will do well in that game. I just like him for the upcoming fixtures. They're not amazing, but I don't know. I have a gut feeling on him, and I feel like I have this gut feeling every season. I quite like a Danny Welbeck in my team, to be fair. He did kind of disappoint me last year, but I'm feeling it this time, and it might be that I go for him in Game Week 10. So here's a punt for you. If you can't afford a Mateta, for example, and there's no easy way for you to get there, I quite like Danny Welbeck for Game Week 10. So yeah, those are my my punts, sorry. Let's now move on to my Pickles passes. Now, after his 23 pointer, people might not like this, but I wouldn't be picking Van der Ven. You're just chasing points. So those 23 points are gone. The fixtures coming up are not great. Got Chelsea at home next. It's not a fantastic fixture, even though Chelsea weren't amazing Game Week 9. It's not a great fixture, and it doesn't change the fact that this guy barely gets DEFCON points. So, unfortunately, despite the amazing haul that this man got in Game Week 9, I'm not feeling it for Game Week 10. I don't feel at the moment, especially for 4.7 million, that he is that great of an asset to own. You might disagree, but I don't think the 23 pointer really changes how I feel about him. The second one is Isidore, got a goal in Game Week 9. I just think he is a nice cheap option, but in terms of reliability, I'm not too sure. He could prove me wrong, like the likes of Thiago have done, but I'm not too sure about it, and I think it's too risky of a punt, especially when there's the likes of Thiago and Welbeck on the table. So unfortunately, for now, I wouldn't go there. And finally, this one might even be the most controversial of them all, but Szoboszlai. He looks very, very good, especially in the 10 role. You know, he can score from yards out. He gets DEFCON. He's actually a really, really good player if he's in the number 10 role for FPL. But because of, you know, Vert's been around and just how much they can move around in the team and how flexible they seem to be, you just don't know where Szoboszlai's going to play. He could even play right back because of how poor Bradley and Frimpong have been. And I just think you don't want him there. It's just so wasteful. For 6.5 million as well, we've got the likes of Assar, got the likes of Enzo, and you know, players like that around that price point. I'm just not sure it's worth the risk. At least wait a little bit longer to assess, because I think that Liverpool are still trying to figure themselves out. But if we knew he was in the 10 all the time, absolutely would go there. But for now, I'm not too sure what I'm going to avoid. So unfortunately, those are my passes for this game week. Let's now move on to my Pickles predictions for Game Week 10. Now, these predictions are kind of funny because, to be honest, I wrote a lot of these down and made this graphic before the games have really happened. So these are my predictions. So the first one isn't really that funny, but I'm predicting that there will be 3+ goals in the West Ham versus Newcastle game. That's not to say that I think Newcastle's going to score all of those, but I think it's going to be a game with a lot of goals in it. So we'll see. The second one and the third one are quite funny based on like writing them before stuff happened, but I've put that Richards will get DEFCON points against Brentford. I just think Brentford are going to be attacking. And whether Palace keep a clean sheet, I'm not too sure. I'm hopeful that they do, but I think Richards will get DEFCON. And it's funny because I didn't know about the whole Richards fiasco when I wrote this, so hopefully this time if he gets DEFCON that he gets it like he does deserve to, especially because I'm starting him, so I hope they just get DEFCON points. And then the third one, I didn't know, but I looked at the highlights and there might have been more, but I saw that Bowen attempted a bicycle kick goal in this game week, and I didn't know that when I wrote this. And I just thought, I hadn't seen one for a while. I wanted to say scored, but I just thought that'd be quite difficult to achieve, I suppose. So I'm predicting that a bicycle kick goal will be attempted this game week. And yeah, I'm a bit annoyed now seeing that Bowen had even attempted one the game week before. I promise I wrote this before I knew that. But yeah, those are my predictions for game week 10. Let me know what you think and let me know if you've got any predictions of your own. I'd love to hear them. So there we have it, guys. That's my game week 10 Pickles preview video. Thank you so much for watching. I know these videos are quite long, but I hope you find them useful and that you enjoy them. Let me know down in the comments if you want any more sections to be added or if there's anything that you'd like me to even omit from it. I'm open to feedback. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much for all of the support, guys, and I hope to see you very, very soon for my team selection video. Bye-bye.